What is up everyone, Movie back again with another video, and today is going to be my top 10 movies of 2022. I've seen 125 films from this year, and these are the best of the best. Now, just to be clear, The Fabelmans, Tar, The Whale, and a few others have not been released in the UK here yet. We get everything late these days, or we have done forever actually, and it's just kind of frustrating. But what I'll do is, if any of them films make my top 10 after recording this video, mid-February or something, when I've seen all them 2022 movies I want to catch up on that aren't released here yet, if any of them make the top 10, I will redo this video in February, because last year I done my top 2021 movies, and then King Richard and Coda actually made that list, and are in my top 10 of 2021 now. So just to be clear, if them movies make it, I'll do the list. No honourable mentions here, because I'm going to be ranking every single movie I've seen from this year in one big video that is to come on the channel very soon. So I'm not going to touch the honourable mentions. You'll find out what came 11th, 12th and stuff in that video. So let's just get into it now. But number 10. Number 10 is going to be Rian Johnson's Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery. Sorry about calling it a Knives Out mystery there, Rian Johnson. I know you don't like that subtitle that Netflix forced on the movie there, but what can you do? This was a really good follow-up to the original Knives Out, which came out in 2019, I believe. And I really did enjoy that movie. My only problem with that film is, I guess, the ending. What I'm glad to say here, I didn't see what was coming at all. Rian Johnson throws lots of great twists and turns in along the way. It's not just the build up towards the end. Things happen throughout the movie that sort of throw the story off and throw yourself as a viewer off guard. I do think the first one is a touch better, but this was still a great follow-up and a great sequel. The characters here is a great roster again, like the first movie. You got Kate Hudson in there, Dave Bautista, who I always love watching, and Daniel Craig and Ed Norton, of course, two real great actors. But the standout here for me was Daniel Craig. I think this might be his best performance I've seen him in. He was just so funny in this movie, such a witty character. And my favourite part of the film was when he was on screen. I loved the accent he threw on as well. Just totally worked for me and just enhanced the movie every time he was on screen. I love the way his character is so clever and like the world's greatest detective or private investigator, whatever you want to call it. And this was so well written by Rian Johnson. You can see all the little pieces coming together that he's put from paper to screen, and it's directed really well as well. I mean, he knows where to point the camera, how to build the scenes. It's just a really well put together movie, and I really like this tropical location where Ed Norton has this big glass onion house because he's this real rich guy. The setup to get all these characters is a little bit silly, I suppose, but once you get past that, the movie plays out really, really well there. So I really enjoyed it. A late entry into my top 10 movies of 2022. I didn't get to see this until the 23rd of December when it arrived on Netflix. Glad I checked it out. And a solid sequel. So number 10 is Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery. Number 9 is going to be Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. And what Ryan Coogler did here to turn this film on its head from what he originally had, due to the passing of Chadwick Boseman, was nothing short of extraordinary. I liked the way he portrayed on screen with the characters and the emotions they were feeling, and connected it with the audience, because a lot of Marvel fans and film fans in general were really saddened by the sudden passing of Chadwick Boseman. It kind of just came out of nowhere, really. And I think Ryan Coogler really done well to get the characters in the movie of the same feelings of the viewers had, really, because it was really sad to see, and the respect that they pay to him in this film is really well done, and you kind of feel the emotional level of what the characters are feeling, and it's like the characters are feeling what you feel when Chadwick passed. So I thought Ryan Coogler done a really good job of that. But getting onto the story, I do think this is a really well-paced film. Could have been maybe cut about 20 minutes, but it was never bored or anything. It's definitely a more serious and streamlined movie. A lot of the humour is taken out, which I do think was sort of in respect to Chadwick there as well. They wanted to do it a little bit more serious. It's not your typical Marvel film. It feels a little bit different there. The main villain of this film was one of the better MCU villains, I thought, and had good motives as to why he was doing what he was doing. There's lots of great action scenes as well. There was one at the start of the film, on in the first hour there, where there's like the storming of the ship, and I thought that was all really well done. A bridge scene as well, which was friggin' awesome. But all the side characters in this are great. No one is wasted. They all do a job, and it's just a very entertaining roster of characters. But like I said, a great emotional payoff towards the end of the movie to Chadwick, and a really solid follow up to Black Panther. I would say I prefer this over the original ever so slightly, but for me, it's the best Marvel film of the year and one of the best movies in Phase 4. So number 9 is Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. Number 8 is going to be The Banshees of Inisherin. Now, my friend Jamie will be shouting at the screen here because he came to cinema with me to watch this and didn't like this movie at all. And I friggin' loved it. Now, I know the general consensus does seem to be that a lot of people did enjoy this film, but I do think it's a film that's definitely not for everyone as well. Now, Martin McDonagh, who brought us The Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, which is another great film, I think has made a better one here. I think this might be his best movie, and this sees Brendan Gleeson and Colin Farrell, who are these two friends, on this really depressing location in Ireland. And Brendan Gleeson just says, look, I don't want to be friends with you no more. Doesn't really give him a reason to start with, and Colin Farrell just cannot get his head around it. He persists and persists and persists. It's his only friend. He goes drinking with him every day to the pub, which is this one little pub in the middle of in the middle of this island. Everyone just knows each other around the island and stuff, and he's really taken this to heart. He can't understand his only friend doesn't want to speak to him no more, and he's trying to get to the bottom of it. But this film had a lot of twists and turns in it. I mean, 1 minute I was laughing my ass off at the dialogue and stuff, how funny it was, and then some really dark things might happen. It's a very simple plot, but just seems like there's so much more to it as the movie goes on. And we've got some great side characters in here as well. Barry Keoghan might be the best cast character in any movie in 2022 here, playing this little weirdo on this island. I thought he was excellent in this film, and he just added so much to it. And, it does... I get what the movie was sort of trying to say to me, because I think it's more of a mental situation involving Brendan Gleeson's character, because this island where they live is just so depressing, and you can see that it's getting to his character. And I think that was the main message there, where he just wanted a little bit more out of life, and Colin Farrell is sort of content of where he is, and it's the parting of two people, really. But I definitely recommend this film. It's on Disney Plus. It's not your typical everyday movie, but for the comedy and the story and the great characters, definitely worth a watch, and contains one of the best movie moments of 2022 with Colin Farrell just ranting in a bar there. So number 8 is The Banshees of Inisherin. Number 7 is going to be Ty West's X. Now, this was such a great horror film that seemed to take a lot of inspiration from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's all based in 1979, but you can just tell that Ty West and his directing, where he points the camera, the whole look of it, is a fan of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, even though it's a little bit of a different story there. It's about these bunch of characters who go and stay in this cottage type location, or like this farmhouse, and they want to shoot a porno movie, basically. And the bodies start to pile up where they are. It might seem very simple, but I do think there's a little bit more to it than your average slasher, basically. Now, what I loved about this movie more than anything is the characters, because a lot of horror movies and slasher films especially just have characters there as fodder, but I thought everyone done such a great job here. Kid Cudi was fucking awesome in this film. I didn't actually realise it was him till I looked it up at the end, looking at all the cast and the crew. He was brilliant in this film, and Mia Goth doing a double casting here was just excellent as one of the young characters, and the older woman Pearl. If you haven't seen the movie, I don't want to get too much into it, but some excellent gore here as well. An alligator is roaming around. Won't say too much more about that one. But overall, I just thought this was such a classy horror film. Loved the whole story, location, directing, everything about it, the characters, and we did get a prequel to this as well in the year, and it's not on this list, but it was a great follow-up basically, or prequel if you like, and I'm definitely excited for Maxine, which is going to be the third in this trilogy. So X was just such a nice surprise for me, and my favourite horror movie of the year. So number 7 is X. Number 6 is going to be 13 Lives. Now, I remember reading about this in the newspaper about 5 years ago, where these kids in Thailand, this football team of kids, all went down into this cave and got trapped because the cave flooded and they were stuck in this little location and couldn't get out, basically. But what I didn't realise is the two heroes of this story are actually British divers, and they're played by Colin Farrell and Viggo Mortensen. Yes, Colin Farrell is in another movie in this top 10 here. He's starting to become an elite actor these days, isn't he? And it's another good performance here as well. Two great characters to leave the film, I think, here. But this was a very claustrophobic film at times, seeing these two dive through these caves and have to do like these 5 or 6 hour swims to get these kids out. You just thought there was no hope at all for them. You feel like panic was going to set in at any moment, and you just were scratching your head thinking, how the hell are these going to get out of this situation? Even Viggo Mortensen at times, his character has just given up. And it's a really on the edge of your seat true story that you really want a good outcome from. And the whole of like this town and stuff are just their whole focus is getting these kids out, and it was just so heartfelt and emotional. And as a parent now, I feel like this film connected with me a little bit more because you can see the anguish on all these kids' parents' faces, just wanting them to get out. And if my kid was stuck down there, I wouldn't know what to do with myself. So I thought this movie was just really well done, really well told, excellently paced. And I think when you watch a good true story, it can have more of an impact. And my wife is really, really harsh on scores. Like every time we go and see a film, I'll say, "Oh, I thought that was an 8 out of 10. What did you think?" And she'll go, "I'll give it a 7." She always goes one less, but she actually said that this film was a 10 out of 10 for her. So that's how good this movie is, if you know my wife, basically. So number 6 is 13 Lives. Number 5 is going to be All Quiet on the Western Front. Now, I'm not usually a person who goes to war movies. It's not my typical genre. But this, and I don't say this lightly, might just be the best war film I have ever seen. Yes, even beating Saving Private Ryan. I'll have to rewatch that to definitely make that call, but it is up there. It's definitely up there. Now, this follows a young man called Paul and a bunch of his friends who are kind of coaxed into joining the German army because I don't think they quite know what is ahead of them. They're told they're going to be heroes. It's going to be a little bit of a doddle, and they will be coming home to a hero's welcome, basically. But once they get into that first trench there, they just know that they have made a bad decision, and they couldn't have expected this in a million years because they are just thrown straight into hell there, basically. And it kind of just shows you the lies that they were told because the German army were our enemies and stuff. But these are just young men who basically didn't know what they were getting themselves into. This film is so well directed. These action scenes and the explosions and shit going off is just unbelievable to watch. I really loved the way the director pointed the camera. I'm really sorry I forgot his name, but he just knew how to film this absolute war epic. Felix Camera as the Paul, the main young guy in this movie, was really did give one of the standout performances of the year. I don't think he gets talked about enough, but I thought he was excellent in this film. This had a bunch of characters that you connect with. You want them to get out of this situation. Some really, really, upsetting moments in this film, and it just shows the cruelty of World War I. I mean, I know war is a terrible thing. I'm not saying World War I is worse than two or anything like that, but there is some shocking things in World War I here, and it is all shown in this movie. And there was one scene where a bunch of tanks are coming towards these guys, and I was like, holy shit, how the hell are they getting out of this situation? So, number 5 is All Quiet on the Western Front. Number 4 is going to be The Northman. Now, I've got a little bit of a confession here. I have not seen The Witch yet by Robert Eggers. I have seen The Lighthouse, though, and I didn't quite get what that film was trying to do. I may need to rewatch it, but I didn't quite connect with it like a lot of people did. There was a lot of mixed messages in there, a little bit too art housey for my liking. And I thought this was going to be the same with The Northman after seeing a little clips of the trailer and stuff, but this is definitely more streamlined for the average viewer, and it definitely worked for me. Even after 10 minutes, I thought, oh no, he's gonna go like the Lighthouse direction here, but after that, it definitely just, levels out there, and it's a very good story to follow. Actually, this follows Alexander Skarsgård, who is on a mission of revenge, basically, and he is just such an awesome character in this movie. The world that we are in here just pulls no punches. Kind of reminded me of Game of Thrones, where anything goes. There's no emotion from anyone. There is no forgiveness. It's just man, man for man, dog eat dog. And you understand that quickly with Alexander Skarsgård's character, that he is not the greatest of heroes to get behind. He's just doing what he's got to do, basically. But visually stunning film, really well directed, especially towards the end with this big climatic battle that we have here. Really dark characters in this movie. Nicole Kidman was a surprise for me, and the way it sort of goes with her. Got Ethan Hawke in there. It's a great cast, basically. But this one moment that stood out to me was this village raid, and it was one of the best movie moments of 2022. Just all this one shot, this one shot raid of this village. I was watching it in the cinema, and it was one of the best things I'd ever seen on a screen, really. I was like, wow, this is how you direct a movie. So, a solid film, and definitely preferred it over The Lighthouse, and looking forward to Robert Eggers' next project now. So, number 4 is The Northman. Number 3 is going to be Top Gun Maverick. I don't think this film had any right to be as good as it was, but here we are with a third in my top 10 movies of 2022. Really, really surprising film. And Tom Cruise, man, he's just a fucking legend, isn't he? I was never a big fan of Tom Cruise, really, until I watched the last 2 Mission Impossible movies, and now I can't get enough of the guy, especially after seeing Top Gun Maverick. I wasn't a big fan of the first Top Gun. I thought it was okay. I rewatched it just going into this one, and I did like it a little bit more, but I just didn't expect to love Top Gun Maverick as much as I did. But this film was just breathtaking from start to finish. The entire runtime of this film, not a second is wasted, was exceptional. And just seeing Tom Cruise having to teach these bunch of students the ways of Top Gun, basically, and this dangerous mission they have in front of them, and they've got to learn it quickly, and they pull Tom Cruise in because he's the best man to teach them. It was just all jaw-dropping stuff, and some of the things you see on camera here are nothing short of extraordinary. No CGI or anything. It's all done in real fighter jets, and it just all looks great as well. I mean, it's just the way it's filmed. I went to see this on iSense, which is basically the same sort of thing as IMAX, just a different name. And it was just unbelievable to watch at the cinema. It really was. I absolutely loved this film, and I was so happy to see it do so well at the box office. I don't even think Tom Cruise himself could have seen them numbers coming, but it smashed records, and I'm so happy for it. I can't wait to watch this again. I bought the 4K there, or got it for Christmas, sorry, and I'm really eager to revisit this movie now. Really great film. Miles Teller thrown in there. You know, great ensemble of cast, Jennifer Connelly and stuff. Everything about it just worked. I don't have many problems with this movie at all. Just a brilliant action film, a superior film to the original, and this is what you call a legacy sequel, isn't it? So number 3 is Top Gun Maverick. Number 2 is going to be a film that was number 1 for nearly the whole year when I first seen it in March, and it has just been moved recently, and you'll find out what number 1 is in a minute. But number 2 is The Batman. This was my most anticipated film in years, and it didn't disappoint whatsoever. I thought Matt Reeves just gave us something special here. A Batman film that is going down the detective routes, kind of like a crime horror movie, kind of like Seven. I was just all on board for this. Now, I was scratching my head a little bit with Robert Pattinson as Batman, and after seeing the film, I was like, why did they even have any qualms whatsoever? He was incredible as Batman here. I think after a movie more or two, he could go down as my favourite Batman. I'm not even joking when I say that. A little bit work to do on Bruce Wayne maybe, but we didn't get too much of Bruce Wayne's story. I think that could be worked on in the sequel, but everything about this movie just worked. I've been wanting to see a good Riddler story for years, especially after playing the Arkham games, and we got one here. Just so dark and mysterious. The way this film is shot, just like like a detective noir film that is just so bleak, totally works. So many great moments in this film, like the car chase, the opening where Robert Pattinson is narrating about how everyone fears him because he's like a year and a half into his Batman journey now. And this holds a little bit of more of a special place in my heart for me personally, because this was filmed in my home city of Liverpool, and I went out and done a video on that and all the locations and stuff. I'll leave it down below if you want to check that out. But we just have another great cast here with Zoe Kravitz, Colin Farrell again, another movie he's in my top 10. Is that 3 movies he's in now as the Penguin? He was awesome, kind of stole the show at times really. Paul Dano was the Riddler, was excellent, such a creepy villain. And I absolutely just adored this movie. I thought it was excellent from start to finish, and I can't wait to see the second installment. We best get it. Please don't mess around. Warner Brothers and DC, please give us it. Matt Reeves deserves his sequel. So number 2 is The Batman. Number 1, though, is going to be Now, a lot of people were talking about this movie throughout the year, saying how great it was and stuff, and I knew I had to get round to it at some point, but the 3-hour runtime was not putting me off. I just had to find the right time for it, and I was kind of humming and ahhing a little bit as well, because I'd never really seen too many Bollywood films or anything, although this apparently is a Tollywood film, which is part of Indian movie making. So I didn't know what to expect, and boy, was I blown away by this film. I mean, from start to finish, I just had the time of my life. Even though it was 3 hours, I didn't want it to end. You just latch on to these 2 main characters in this film who become the best of friends. And this film, honestly, every other scene is just absolutely mind-blowing. It's kind of like a film I've wanted to see for years, that I just didn't know it was going to be that going in. I mean, I remember I watched Terminator 2 when I was a kid, and I fell in love with movies, and this film actually kind of reminded me of that. It was kind of nudging me going, this is why you love films, isn't it? I mean, it was just breathtaking from start to finish. A mishmash of genres. You got action in there, romance, comedy, fucking musical at one point. And I have a video coming on my top 10 movie moments of the year, but honestly, I could pick 6 or 7 from this film in that video if I wanted, but I am just keeping it to one movie at a time. Just fell in love with the characters. Great, simple story that it just works so well, even though it's expanded into 3 hours. And there's one point in the middle of the film where I thought, oh, is this movie going to slow down now? And 5 minutes later, I'm like, wow, this is one of the best parts of the entire film. Wow. Honestly, this film just has everything. And this is the first film I've ever reviewed on this channel that I gave a 10 out of 10 to. It was just mind-blowing, jaw-dropping. One of the best films I have ever seen in my life. And I've heard rumblings we might be getting a sequel there, and I absolutely can't wait for that if that is true. This film is incredible. I recommend it to everyone, and it's beat the Batman for me, and I didn't think anything could do that, but I've never seen anything like this in my life. I loved it from start to finish. Not one problem, not one negative, just the most fun-filled movie I have seen in years. So number one is RRR. Okay guys, hope you all enjoyed this top 10 movies of 2022. What are your top 10 movies of 2022? Leave it down below and I'll try and get back to you all. I promise. Don't forget to check out my other top 10s, my top 10 horror movies of the year. I've got my top 10 first time watches of the year. They're just a few videos back. I'll leave my list of top 10s down below in the playlist if you want to check any of them out. Thanks so much guys. Take it all easy. And I'll see you all in the next video.